Got corn? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Ken Johnson. Today we're going to be doing Native American style corn, but using my recipe. The reason for this, there is a herb that is not endangered yet, but it is closely getting there. And so this is probably the smallest batch of corn I've ever done in my life. Normally I do 5-gallon buckets of them, and there's a long soak and all that. I didn't do all that stuff. This is a pared down recipe, but I think you'll like it, and the substitutes that I've put in makes it very achievable for the home cook. Alright, so right now I've got roughly a 3-quart pot, and I've filled it up to about 1.25 gallons. Now I'm going to add in 2 cups of regular sugar. Now I've got 1/8 of a cup of sea salt. Now I've got 1 ounce of allspice berries. I'm going to crack them up first in mortar and pestle, and then we'll let this boil away. Alright, that was coarsely beaten up in the mortar and pestle. If you had a coffee grinder, you could, one of those little electric spice grinders, you could put it in that. They didn't have any already pre-ground allspice, or otherwise I probably would have cheated and got that. Pickings were slim today at the grocery store. So anyway, 1 ounce of that goes in. You could add some black pepper if you wished. I may add just a little bit. If I did, I'd only add maybe a 1/2 teaspoon. Alright, I am going to throw some of this in there. This McCormick's Peppercorn Medley grinder. Just put in about 1/2 teaspoon of that in there. Not much. Maybe not even a 1/2 teaspoon. We're trying to simulate a herb that is used in Native American cooking, but I'm trying to make it where the average home cook can do it. Now I'm going to add in a roughly anywhere from 1/8 to a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves. This can go off the rails very quickly. It's a very powerful spice, so you don't want to put too much. There we go. So if you're using ground allspice, 2 tablespoons of ground allspice is roughly 1 ounce. You could use as much as 2 ounces. It really depends. I don't want this to get too strong. Now that it's boiled, what I'm going to do is turn it off and let it sit and see how it tastes. For the last element of this, we're going to add vanilla. I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon. I know most people think I'd add MSG if you've ever watched my show. And really, you could add some MSG. It wouldn't hurt. About 1 tablespoon never would hurt. But we're going to do vanilla. Like I said, about 1 tablespoon. Alright, so this right here is cool. It is room temperature. I've let it sit for about 1.5 hours. And so now we're going to prepare our corn. Alright, so they had corn at the supermarket today. It was 3 ears for $1. They had the bicolor corn, yellow corn, and white corn, so I got 4 of each. I also have here a box of 2-gallon Ziploc freezer bags. So what we're going to do is cut the ends of the corn. So we're not going to actually cut this end, but what we're going to do is just lightly cut this end right here. And what that's going to do is allow me to get it into this bag. So I'm cutting it to where I can get it into the bag, and it's also going to create an opening for the juice to get in and go in through the cob. And then later on I'm going to be making my pecan, blueberry, and cream cheese pie. If you hadn't seen that before, I'll put a link in the description. That's going to go with our meal, but I'm going to start cutting these off, and I'll show you when I've got them in the bags. I'm going to show you how this works. So usually when you're doing it, when you're pulling corn off, this is where the base of the cob is. So you got about 2 inches, 3 inches. All right. And you want the most amount of husk possible. If you're doing it for a tribal event, this is perfect. You would have a big vat, you would soak it in special solution that you make up. We're not doing that special solution. That I think some things should stay a secret, and so I'm not going to divulge it. Some other show might, but I'm not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this just a little bit and expose this. That will leave me enough that it'll actually fit into the bag, and that's what I'm trying to do, is fit it into the bag. So for this cob, that meant I had to cut roughly about 1.5 inches. And so once I do that, then we can take that off. That effectively removed about 1/4 inch of extra protection. So that's the reason why I don't like doing it this way. But at home, if you don't have a big giant bucket or vat or something to soak this in, this is a much easier way. It will still work. Now, if you worried about not cooking all the way through or whatever, what you could do is boil the corn in a giant pot with this tea solution I made. It won't be as good, but it will work, and then that makes sure that you cooked all the way through. But I'm going to add this to a bag and show you what it looks like. Cut the size, alternating big end with little end. So, you know, you got the end of the cob here, end of the cob there, and alternating everything. That gives you 2 rows of 6 for a total of 12 ears that fits into a 2-gallon bag perfectly. Now we'll add in our fluid and then put this into the refrigerator. This will sit overnight. You need it to sit overnight so that you get it to soak all the way through. 2 nights would be even better, but most times only do overnight anyway. Alright, so what we're going to do is just put this in a refrigerator. Let this sit. I'll flip it over probably in about an hour or 2 when I go to bed. I'll flip it. When I wake up in the morning, I'll flip it, wait about an hour or 2. Might flip it again, might let it set for a little bit. But basically, just keep flipping it and it'll start sucking out that juice into the corn. And as it sucks it into the cob, it'll just flavor it even more. As you can see, I got the grill rocking. It's just a little bit above 350 degrees, around 375. Smoking away. When I grill, I like to have the best usage of the grill possible, which means that I actually try to cook multiple meals at one time so that I'm just not wasting time. So what I'm doing now is I'm just flipping all this stuff. We're going to eat this today for lunch. So this is our lunch, and then when I get done, we'll work on supper. So I'll be back in a minute. One of the things I do dearly love is grilled vegetables, and grilled summer squashes, yellow squash, zucchini. That is something that I always like to do as part of any meal. So we're going to take this off, then we'll put on the corn, and then we're going to put on the chuck roast. So if you're watching the corn video, this will be coming up next. If you're watching the chuck roast video, then you'll see it also as well when it comes through. Okay, so the corn is on the grill. One of the things I hope you noticed when I was doing the corn, you need to make sure you have a tray under it. And especially when you're opening up the bag, put this on the grill, you're going to need that tray. But also, if the bag malfunctioned or whatever, you want something to catch the liquid so that you don't mess up your refrigerator. Usually when I do this, I use a 5-gallon bucket and I use ice cold water, or that tea. I get it ice cold and let it sit overnight in that, and then I stir it around, move it around. It's an all-night process. This is a lot easier. If you don't want to do it, remember, you can boil it in that tea solution. It just won't be as good. Now what we're going to do is just let this slowly roast. You always want these ends to be right here. It makes it a little easier to turn with your hands if you wish to. You can get some paper towels if it gets a little too hot. If I had a bigger grill, so like in a tribal event, they have really big grills and they'll have the stalks out really big. The reason for that is that they put them over the coals, have an area that's not as hot where you can just grab your hand, you know, and just twist, and then it makes a nice little handle for people when they're eating. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just going to let this come up to heat, and we'll just be turning this over every now and then. So right now it's not quite up to heat. It's not there yet. See how that's just slowly turning? That's a little hot spot there. That's a hot spot there. We'll probably switch these out in a little bit. And that's the thing, you always got to keep moving things around on your grill to make sure that you're not letting something get too hot, like that's getting too hot right there. So I may move this right here instead. Alright, and this one right here, we'll do the same. So I'm going to just move these around, and I'll be back in a minute and show you what they look like. Now I will say these right here are a little bit too close to the coals. I wish this grill had a way I could lower down the coal rack, because you need this to be kind of off the coals. You really want the corn husk to be a chocolate color. When they turn a chocolate color, that's when they're about done. So like I don't know if it's a little hard to see, but when you see that kind of dark chocolate but not really burnt, that's what you're really looking for on these. It's going to be hard to do it with this grill, but that's where you just have to manage your fire a little bit better, manage your heat a little bit better, turn them more often. I didn't turn them as much. I had to do some stuff inside and it got away from me for a little bit. So, you know, this is one that you kind of have to stay on top of a little bit, but it's really worth it. And here they are off the grill. All you do is you just separate this right here, come down one stroke, halving it, and then come down with the other stroke, and that gets off most of your shucks. Then you just dip in butter, and that's it. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do this. It's a very simple process. What you do is kind of tease these silks and the husks apart in half, and then what you do is just come down in one strong stroke, and there you go. You got just a couple right there of silks, but that's pretty much it. And then you just dip it in some butter. So this is how it'd be eaten at a powwow, whatever. This is bicolor corn. I've got some white, I've got some yellow, but that's pretty much how you do it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. You know, this recipe, it is one of those that it would do really well with a electric grill. I don't like electric grills. I like my grills to be charcoal, but this would be very good. I think that it is the ideal situation for electric grill. You could take a little bit of tin foil, put some wood shavings and get them smoldering to give it a little bit more of a smoke flavor. But you could turn down that heat. You don't have to worry about flaming up or anything, and get those corn husks to that perfect chocolate color without burning it. Another thing about this recipe that you may like is after you're done, if you want to make a bunch of it ahead of time, let's say corn is in season, you want to make the best of it, you don't even have to really do much to it. After it's cooked, let it cool down, put it in some gallon bags and put it in the freezer. It will last a year in the freezer, and it tastes so good. I mean, it is hard to explain the level of flavor you get with this style corn versus boiling versus Mexican style where you do it on the grill and then you cover it up with mayonnaise and everything. This right here, just simple butter. It is fantastic. Give it a try. If you will, please give us a like, comment down below if you've done it this way or you do a different way. Subscribe if you hadn't already. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, trying to get there super fast if we can. I would like to be on our way to 5,000 subscribers by December. So I think by August we should be done with 2,000 and be working on 3,000. I'm just going to incrementally make small goals this year, trying to get to 5,000. And we're well on the way, and with your support we'll definitely get there. So please consider subscribing if you hadn't already. But with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.